Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Manager in the Mirror 2 of the No Fun League name TBD podcast. We're here with Jesse the Kid Meer. How are we?
Good. And I think we should rename this series to Man in the Mirror because
Oh.
there's a, well, actually,
Oh.
because you
Little
want to know
between
about
us
the
and
man
us.
and who's behind the mirror, you know, and that's what I do here. So I'm doing good. I'm pumped to be on the show. Thank you for welcoming me.
How many men are behind the mirror?
Depends if there's another mirror, and then it could be infinite.
Dan, how are we?
Oh. Doing good. Episode 2. I'm excited to be here.
Hell yeah. Um, I forgot to reference this last time, but I'm picking an album for our guest every time. Rob's was War by U2 because I feel like, especially after the Niflies, he's on a war path. Jesse's is KOD because he's one of the league's GOATs. His current team might not be the best project he's ever put together, but there's still plenty of good stuff in there.
There's some, I don't know, maybe I'll re-release some of my old content and have a resurgence. Maybe I go big this year in trades. I don't know.
Well, we'll dip into exactly the trajectory of the Raiders of the Lost Chark. But before we get started here with the Q&A, we're going to recap your season.
Let's
So
do it.
he started the year coming off the year of the Meer. He was 10-5, the 3 seed, fourth in points for, and then stomped Rob by 58 round one and beat Brennan by 2.32 to grab his first ring in franchise history.
Ever in doubt.
Yeah. And then he hit the ground rolling in 2024 on March 4th in the quarterback redraft. He took Trevor Lawrence at the 109, Justin Fields at the 202, and Kenny Pickett at the 309, and lost Hollywood Brown compensating in that process. On 3-7, he sent Saquon Barkley, Amari Cooper, and the pick that became Malik Washington, which was the 406, for Jahan Dotson, the 7 pick this year, and the 301 this year. On March 13th, he sent Christian McCaffrey, Adam Thielen, and Curtis Samuel for the slut, the pick that became Xavier Worthy, which he had moved to Tom at that point, and then the 209, which he sent to Pat, and it became Adonai Mitchell, as well as this year's 306. On draft day, he took BTJ at the 10, Roman Wilson at the 21, Jalen McMillan at the 30, Jacob Cowing, Luke McCaffrey, and Jatavion Sanders in the 4th, Garendo and Tyrone Tracy in the 5th, and Drew Lock with Mr. Irrelevant pick. On the day after the draft, he added Tucker Kraft and Cedric Tillman for $2 each on waivers. Now, I didn't factor in waivers in a lot of people's recaps, but I must say
Mm.
that you had many worth mentioning.
Mm.
August 30th, Devon Vele joined the team for free off of waivers. And then the real old head selling came to a close on September 4th when he sent Travis Kelce, James Conner, and Deebo Samuel to Dan for the 109 this year, 209 this year, Tom's 26th third, Cole Kmet, Jordan Winnington, and Javon Baker. On September 17th, Tutu Atwell came to the team for $18. And then on September 26th, he sent Nico Collins and the 11 this year for J.J. McCarthy, Malik Willis, Michael Wilson, Dan's 26 first, 27 first, and 27 second. November 10th, sent Cooper Rush and a 26 fourth for Dan's 27 third. And December 4th, sent Isaac Garendo and Isaiah Davis to myself for Tyjae Spears and the 310 this year. Ended up finishing 3-12, the 10 seed, lowest points for in the league by 220, and has the 8 pick this year, 9 pick this year, and 21 among others after that. He has him and his own and Dan's first this year or next year, and no second next year. And that's Jesse Meer's current standing.
Lots of activity. Lots of activity.
That's how we like it.
Very active. A lot of activity here in this Zoom call. I think the last 4 trades have been where we're between the three of us there.
Yeah, I mean, we are an elite group, and you know what the elites do. They stick together. That's one thing that the elites do, and so that's what we do.
I like it. And we're sticking together today.
Making each
Well,
other
there's
better.
Jesse Meer's fantasy team. Tell us about Jesse Meer, the man.
Jesse Meer, the man, is the man in the mirror is doing great. Life's been good, been staying busy. I'm on a like a recreational softball league that has been an absolute blast, although we've gotten 10-run rule the last 2 games. But we're playing our way into the league. We're playing against these guys that are like 10 years older and have kids and are like grown ass men. So I'm proud of our development. But yeah, life is good. Work is good. And it's been starting to be really nice in Charlotte. It was like 75 today. So I'm really pumped for the weather to come back in full swing.
I'm with you, man. We got longer days. It's been nice here in Morgantown. I'm feeling those vibes.
Let's
No doubt.
go. Yeah, how are you guys doing? All good?
Can't complain.
Doing well. Yeah, things are going
Sweet.
good. All right. Well, we recapped it. You won your ring in what a greenly dressed fool dubbed the year of the mirror. And then there was an immediate pivot towards overhauling the entire thing.
Yeah.
Uh, what was there any sort of specific formula you had in mind when you were building this new look Raiders team?
Yeah. Um, well, I'm a student of the game. That's first and foremost. And I see what has been working in the league and what has not been working. And for all the sparring back and forth, 2 teams that I really look at and say, I think that the direction of these teams is going great is Nico's team. I know his value took a hit this year, but Nico's team and Tommy's team. And I just really like how both of those teams built through the draft and are working towards building a team that is just through and through good. And one thing that I'm really thinking about in particular is the running back position or lack thereof. And so as you guys know, this class is incredibly stacked. I have no real investments in running backs on my roster besides Tracy. Um, and I just really think I want to put together a team with running backs. Like running backs are the last stage of that construction, just because it's so impossible to predict the longevity of these guys. And so that's kind of the strategy as it stands, and looking to build through the draft and really relish in the player research, which I've had a lot of fun doing.
Good stuff.
Yeah, tremendous answer. And I think it's gonna reflect. You've got a lot of young talent on your team now, and you have a large pool of future capital. I think things are gonna keep trending up for the foreseeable future for the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, what I do have on my championship chain while I still have it is the word hope. And that is the motto, that is the mantra for this team is we have hope again. And that's what we're building towards even more.
That's really important.
Love it.
That's huge. So as I mentioned in your recap, the first big moves of this overhaul of the team, we're adding Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields as your franchise quarterbacks. What exactly informed those decisions at the time, and how are we feeling about it now?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to say at least one of those decisions um, was partially influenced by my girlfriend. And I know this could come out to be a big scandal league wide, but I have been forced against my will to watch a lot of Jaguars games. And I just saw so much potential in Trevor and such horrible execution and horrible coaching. And I just, after watching that, after probably being forced to watch more Jags games, I'm a buyer of that offense, and I especially with the new head coach, Liam Cohen Duval. I feel good about that offense. So I felt good about Trevor then. I still feel good about him. I think it was kind of a lost season. Justin Fields. I thought there was going to be a bigger market for him last year. I think a lot of people thought like, oh, he could go to the Ravens, or I mean, not the Ravens. He could go to the Falcons. Um, he could go to, the Raiders. There were some teams that could potentially like have him be a starter. It didn't pan out that way. At this point, I just have to hold and see if he can cement himself as a starter in this league. But I'm excited about his upside and on the Jets and reunited with Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, exciting stuff. And I'm with you. I'm a big Trevor Lawrence buyer right now as well. I like every piece of the Jags, to be honest. Um,
Even Parker.
even I don't know about that one.
Even again?
Uh,
Um, yeah. So you have declared, and I quote, I own the quarterback market.
mhm.
The starting job possibilities opening up for Kenny Pickett and Justin Fields.
Yeah.
For the audience, because I'm sure many are wondering, who in the league has a QB room that you would take over your own right now?
Yeah. It's a great question. I think before I can answer that question, I need to break down how I've been analyzing some of my competition. So what I did is I looked at the league and I looked at the rankings, I looked at the production, I looked at the keep trade cut values, and then I looked inside my heart. And what I found was there were a few categories of teams. There were teams that are good, have good quarterback rooms, but have no depth. Tommy being paramount to that list. Ryan, I think you're in that category too. You've got a good team, but no depth. And I don't think you have a ton of draft capital either. At least Tommy has some. Dan, I think you're pretty good, but I'm very much questioning your depth behind Josh Allen and Dak.
There's Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. So those are teams that are good, but no depth. I think Zach, uh, maybe. And then there are teams that have depth, but I have a lot of questions about them. Top of that tier, I would say, is like Nico. Um, he's got some guys. He's got a really big quarterback room. I would love to believe that Caleb will be a riser, but it's possible that he just doesn't have the stuff. Like I really don't know. I would be a buyer of Caleb, although I think his value has inflated. And then he has some other guys. Like I think that it's likely that Stroud will regress again, given the O line movement. I would just be very worried about him. Um, and then yeah, like Brennan's also in that depth, but I have some questions category. And then there's a no good category, and that's Pat. I think that Pat's situation is very questionable. And then there's some pretty good. Like I think Luke has a pretty good balanced quarterback room. I'm not like blown away, but I think it's pretty good. And Rob, same kind of situation, pretty good, balanced. There's one category that I left out, and that's the word hope.
Oh,
And that's my quarterback room. And I don't really see the upside of anybody else's quarterback room in the same light that I see my quarterback room. And just how this free agency, how this offseason has played out, I completely unbiased see arrows pointing up to my entire quarterback room. JJ McCarthy. Dan is so shocked he's getting some stretch. JJ McCarthy, okay. Awesome offense that made Sam Darnold legit. He's going to be great. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be great. Trevor Lawrence has got an amazing offensive coach. They're going to prioritize the run game. They're going to give the ball to their best player, Brian Thomas. I feel great about that. And Justin Fields, who's reconnecting, he has a new lease on the game, and he's reconnecting with Garrett Wilson. I think there's so much upside to this room. And then you sprinkle in Kenny Pickett. And then you sprinkle in Malik Willis. Then you sprinkle in, I don't know, Tyler Shug. I don't know. I don't know if I even pronounced his name right. So that's a long-winded answer, but there are teams that fit into different categories. I'm buying the hope category.
Over everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say
Maybe Tom. Maybe Tom. Tom. If he can draft some guys, I'd feel pretty good about his room as well.
I am on board with your assessments of Trev and JJ. I would be excited about both of those. I think both are going to be starter caliber this year, if not pushing QB1s. And Justin Fields historically just needs to hold a job to be a QB1. So certainly something to be excited about. Luke, I think, does have some top shelf. Jalen Hurts. I think Bo Nix is pretty decent and could get better.
Mhm.
And then he's also got Russ and Gino, who both could be looking at starting jobs as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think you're up there. You're definitely a top four. If I was just to go off the dome.
I I don't even know if I would rank myself candidly in that stratosphere. The hope category is kind of like a side, like a lateral kind of thing. Um, but I'm with it. I'm with it. Nico, Brennan, Tom, you, those rooms I feel good about. I don't know if any of the other rooms I'm taking over my guys.
I would take my room in a heartbeat, but
The Daniel Jones news is pretty good for you. Like I feel like he could win that job. I mean, you only start two quarterbacks in this league, so
he could. I don't know. I think they go back with Richardson, but I don't know. Maybe he is just bad. Daniel Jones is just fine.
Pat, I'm sorry, Pat. I I don't even know what to say at this point. Like, I
I
hope
mean,
that Richardson works out.
Penix has to shape up in a good. Like, I don't believe in Anthony Richardson. I didn't really believe in Anthony Richardson coming out of college. Um, Having watched him in college. But even if Penix shapes out nice, like him and Tua, I just don't love.
You
So yeah, it's not the best stitch.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different conversation when we talk about the QB position now than it was a few years ago. You were one of the vocally reluctant opposers to the super flex transition.
Yeah.
Now, a year out from the QB redraft, we just had the anniversary a few weeks ago. What are your thoughts on Superflex and how it all worked out?
Yeah. I think it's fun. I think it was a good idea. And I think we had to work out the compensation in a way. You're never going to arrive at a situation where everybody's happy. And often, like when people are all not happy, that's when it's a good alternative. So I think it makes the league more interesting. Um, and like the quarterbacks, like if it was just a one quarterback league, like quarterbacks just don't mean shit, especially because like you've got the top five or six guys and like the gap between those guys, like it's kind of like flat curve, like besides Lamar from last year. I don't know. I'm happy that we did it. What about you guys? What do you guys think?
I'm stoked as well. I'd never really been in like a competitive super flex league until we made this transition. And yeah, like the conversation we just had talking about our quarterback rooms, it definitely just adds a layer to the whole game, I think.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And adding value to Josh Allen is never something I'm gonna say no to. So.
he's awesome.
All right. So I just want to know, how close are the Raiders from contending right now?
Mm.
How close are you expecting them to be in September?
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see how this draft shakes out. Like, I'm under the impression that this draft, positionally, it's different, but this draft is incredibly deep, even at the wide receiver position where there's not a lot of runaway talent. Um, and I just think I own the third round. I own the third round more than I own the QB market. Um, and I think that I have like six third rounders. If one of those guys can be relevant and one of my two first round picks is relevant, like I'm going to be in a situation where I can not be a doormat, um, and just continue to build. There's been some interesting chatter. I'll give you guys a little bit of inside info. I'm not Rob Schefter or anything, but there's been a lot of interest in BTJ. I've gotten two very substantial offers, kind of in the same area as Dan's offer related to Nico Collins. And so I'm kind of I'm very fearful, and I know I'm hating on Pat. I'm very fearful of the Pat situation where you have to hit the reset button multiple times. So I like almost think that I might just want to sell him and like continue to build through the draft. But how often do players like that come around?
Yeah,
It's tough. So I guess the answer to that question depends on how I decide to continue. But I think I would love to be 500 this year. I think that's probably tough to get there, but that would be my goal. And then by next year, I want to be, you know, potentially fighting to get in on the back half of the playoffs. But it's a long road ahead.
for sure.
Well, I feel a step ahead of me here. I was gonna bring up both Nico and BTJ talking about trades and movement going forward.
Sure.
Is your heart tied to anybody? Is anyone untouchable?
It's tough with the stack with BTJ, and like I think he's inextricably tied to Trevor, and so it's tough to kind of like delineate the two of them. But um, I think anybody could be got on my roster for the right price. I'm not in a position where um, I'm even going to be competing in the next year or even 2 years. And so it would just be foolish for me not to diversify my risk by selling some of my guys. So I may be open for business. I may roll with it through the early part of the season and see how I'm doing, but anyone can be touched.
Okay.
Who on your team would you say is the most touchable?
Yeah. I know one particularly tight end needy team. And I've got some tight ends. And, I saw the kind of deals that were going through with Cade Otton. And I just know that I can offer more than that out of my tight ends. And so tight ends are definitely hitting the market. And I think that there are some. like I want to move Tracy. He doesn't really fit my timeline as kind of like a little bit of an older. I know he's only 25, but I would be happy to move him for the right price. So I think guys like that are definitely touchable.
Gotcha. Okay. Just I feel like a lot of people skip through these, so just a quick synopsis if you've been jumping around
Yeah.
some stuff, viewers out there. So he wants men in Meer. His tight end is the most touchable. And,
I almost was gonna bring the man in the mirror back up.
um, when we mentioned untouchable, I'm a little surprised you immediately started talking Jag stack. I thought Parker Washington might be untouchable, but I guess that's not the case.
I do get kind of like bonded to some of my guys, some of my men on the Mirror team.
Hmm.
Um, Parker being one of those guys. I truly like believe in him, as do I believe in Cedric Tillman. So there are a couple of guys that I just think could be something someday.
Yeah, that Cedric Tillman pickup right on the heels of Tucker Kraft is nuts.
Yeah.
That's
I just wish that he didn't like I'm like concerned about his health. He was out for like 6 weeks or something with a concussion. That was unbelievable. I've never seen something like that in the NFL. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention enough.
Right.
Yeah, he's far from a sure thing, but in terms of somebody who was pretty much in the dumpster, I think everyone was just out on to completely
Yeah.
reviving it. And like, he's totally a guy again, totally a guy worth owning.
There are some guys in this draft that have Cedric Tillman-esque properties that if you wanted a third round pick to try and get one of them, I think they could be gotten. So
Interesting.
That is interesting.
you
Well,
also want to move in the second round. So just put that out to the league. That's something I want to happen. So
I thought there might be some of that.
we talked about potentially selling guys, but if you do hold, if assuming any of these pieces stay with you, who are you most excited to see maybe take a jump next year?
I call him the suck. BTJ just sucks everything up. He sucks literally everything up. And I love that. So I love BTJ. I'm really excited for him. I like Josh Downs. I'm really excited for him. But really, my heart revolves around Justin Fields because his value will live or die with this season. This is make or break. So I'll be watching him most closely.
Gotcha. All very fair. I still, a part of me still believes in Justin Fields like crazy.
Now you got some love for him.
I do. And then our last question of the day. Who's going to win it all this year? Who's coming in last?
It's a great question. I think Pat's going to come in last or Zach.
Two now. Wow.
Maybe Zach. I don't know. I want Pat to not. Um, I think that who's going to win? I, I, here's the thing. Brennan, like, if he decides not to blow it up, like, I think he actually still could do it. Like, I think he could do it. But will he have the mental fortitude to keep it together one more year like I did? I don't know. Um, but I like Dan. He's been on the heels of a win. I think he's got the right pieces. And if I were a betting man, which I'm not, I would put it on Dan.
I think that's fair.
Love it.
All right.
I gotta say, hats off. I don't think anyone has ever come and spit on this podcast the way Jesse Meer did today.
I definitely said a lot of words. That's for
Certified
sure.
ball knower right here. What a show. I'm just happy I was here to listen. I feel like I learned a lot. I think I'm coming away a better fantasy football manager for having been a part of the episode. And I think anybody in the league who puts in the time to listen will be better off for it.
Mm. Thank you, Dan. Do we have a secret word or something to like confirm that people are
Yeah,
What's our secret word?
the
stuck?
Delian.
Suck. I like it.
All
Well,
right. Well, that'll wrap up our Man in the Mirror episode 2 with the Man in Meer. Any parting words for the league, Jesse?
I love you guys and I love the league and just super excited for the upcoming year. Thanks for having me.
Of
absolutely.
course.
Thank you for coming on.
That'll do us unless Dan has anything.